Anyone in spiritual leadership who reads the words of Jesus in Matthew 11:28 that says that his yoke is easy and his burden is light may well balk at the comment, given the pressures associated with the task. So in this series of 3 short videos, we're going to commence by adding a question mark and trust that by the end of the process, you will have substituted it for an exclamation mark. In the Amplified Bible, the text reads, "Come unto me, all you who are weary, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest, relief, ease, refreshment, recreation, blessed quiet for your soul. For my yoke is easy, not hard, sharp or pressing, and my burden is light, easy to be borne." Of course, these words are offered to all who follow Jesus, not just leaders, but church leaders cannot be excluded from them by virtue of the fact that we're all called to lead by example. There are very many Christian leaders, pastors and elders alike, who find their role stressful to the degree that some might suggest that if Moses was to come down from Mount Sinai today in the 21st century, the tablets that we would be carrying would be Prozac. Over these videos, we're going to be looking at the signs of an ill-fitting yoke and also the solution to overcoming the burden of responsibility. But before we go any further, let's ask ourselves a fundamental question. If it's true that the yoke that Jesus offers us is easy and ours isn't, then should we not open ourselves to the possibility that the yoke that we're currently carrying is not being given by him? Well, if we conclude that that might be the case, then whose yoke are we carrying? Let me suggest 3. First of all, other people's expectation. The image of the yoke on the neck of the ox is a picture of submission. Most of us live within a network of responsibility. If we're on a team, then there are expectancies that our senior minister will have. If we're a pastor, then there are expectancies that our church network or denomination has. These may well be entirely legitimate expectations that we have willingly signed up for when we accepted the position of leadership, but we need to be clear where the pressure is coming from. Secondly, there is the psychological pressure that comes from the concept of a role model minister. Let's imagine that a younger leader aspires to fulfill the ministry style of the pastor of the church that they grew up in, a leader who greatly influenced them and whom they would love to be like. If that young leader does not have the gifting, experience or personality type of the person concerned, they're placing a huge burden on themselves. Note the words "on themselves." The same is true of those of any age who admire the so-called celebrity preacher. What a frightening phrase. Jesus has promised that his yoke is easy and his burden is light. He made no promises about the imposition of pressures from other directions, from those in our leadership structure or the result of self-inflicted stress. To try and fit into the mold that others make for us is like David trying to cram himself into the armour of Saul. That's not to say that people should not learn from their mentors. Of course they should. But when we do, the wise words of William Arthur Ward should be taken on board. Blessed is he or she that has learned to admire but not to envy, who has learned to follow but not to imitate, to praise but not to flatter, to lead but not to manipulate. And finally, in this section, watch out for the Martha syndrome. You know the story, don't you? While her sister Mary was in the front room listening to Jesus, Martha was slaving over a hot stove. If we had dropped by her kitchen to pass the time of day, we may well have been told that she was under a great deal of pressure. She was cooking for the creator of the universe. Jesus was later to gently rebuke her for making a meal that he had not ordered. Christian leaders are all too good at making the same mistake, and in the process talking about the heavy demands of ministry. Well, that's all for now. In the series, we're going to be looking at the signs of an uncomfortable yoke. I'll see you then, and don't forget, keep the caffeine flowing.